How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye. Hope everybody's doing great. If you haven't done so already, feel free to check out our review of the newest movie Challenger starring Zendaya. Also, our review of the latest FX miniseries Shogun. Let's just keep getting the word out there, and feel free to share it around. For those who are fellow movie lovers or maybe people who just need something to listen to. But we are talking about a very different movie from Challengers from our last one. It's definitely got some anime feels to it, kind of like Bullet Train. And that is Boy Kills World, starring Bill Skarsgård, Charlotte Copley, Famke Janssen, Andrew Koji, and a slew of other up-and-coming and well-known actors. And again, non-spoiler review as always, so if you do like the video, feel free to click that thumbs up, ring the bell for notifications, and of course subscribe. We appreciate you all, and let's keep ranting, shall we? So this one is a pretty straightforward movie where Bill Skarsgård's character plays a boy who lost his family to this totalitarian regime in a fictional world, and he grows up learning how to fight and trying to get his revenge on these people. And he has no dialogue, but the dialogue is filled in by one of my favorite voice actors within the last 10 plus years, which is H. John Benjamin, he's been in some movies. You may not recognize him, but when you hear his voice, he is the guy who plays Archer and Bob from Bob's Burgers, and he's just such a gem. But with all that being said, with the stellar cast and some great action moments and H. John Benjamin's talent, the movie just kind of fell short for me. And given I've only been looking forward to it really for the last couple weeks after watching the trailer, sitting in a theater for it, because I think they dropped the trailers month or two ago, probably around CinemaCon or something like that. So it hasn't been anticipated too long, but I was hoping that it would be a little bit more, especially the trailers. They definitely made it seem like it was going to be a little bit funnier and a little bit more witty, but it was just kind of missing that. Bern, what did you think of this movie?
Yeah, so this one is a little bit of a mixed bag for me as well. Certainly there are some really cool elements to this movie. Like you mentioned, the anime influences is really cool. I will also say this movie has a lot of Looney Tunes influence and a lot of its absurdity, and I think that's honestly where the movie shines is when it gets weird and fun, and implementing that into the action, into the characters. That's sort of one of the things that sets itself apart. I mean, you have Bill Skarsgård, who I think does a good job of doing the physicality of the action sequences, much like his brother Alexander, who we've seen do a lot of action movies. This is kind of Bill's first go at it, and I thought he did a good job, despite not having any dialogue. I thought he did the action sequences pretty well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the world and stuff, it's very weird. It's very zany and goofy, and I think that sort of does lend itself well to some of the action sequences here, especially because this movie is one of those sort of revenge action movies, and we have gotten one of those within the last few weeks in Monkey Man, and funnily enough, this movie sort of. What do you call it? It touches on a lot of the similar subject matter that movie does, but I do think that movie handles pretty much everything else better, with the exception of I would say the action sequences. I do think the action sequences here are a bit better, and I do think because of the absurdity and the fun of the movie, it lends itself to having a little bit more creativity in the action sequences. So I say that was one of the elements that was better, but overall, I mean, Monkey Man probably just takes the cake in terms of a lot of the other elements that the movie is sort of handling.
Yeah, so I mean, how you're comparing it to Monkey Man in terms of revenge story and very similar characterization, and I compare it to Bullet Train just because it has a lot of ties to anime influences and stuff like that. But with that being said, the dialogue I think was the thing that was lacking the most. The action was on point, and Bill Skarsgård really got in shape for this. He did great. He's also going to be in the new Crow movie that's coming out, the remake essentially, but not really looking forward to that one. So, hopefully that's not a flop for him. But this one, I don't consider this necessarily a flop. It was just not my favorite movie with all the talent that's involved. I will say that I think the two standouts for me were Andrew Koji, because he was hilarious and had a lot of great lines. And then Jessica Roth from the Roth or Roth, again, I'm sorry, it has an E at the end, so it could be Roth, but she was in the Happy Death Day movies. I haven't seen her anything else, but seeing her in this one is like a Kill Bill like character that kind of reminded me a lot of like, also had some Helldivers feels to it. She was great. She had a lot of great action, and she just has a good presence. And then the other ones that contributed to the comedy were Michelle Dockery and Charlotte Copley. Other than that, it was just a bummer, and especially after hearing H. John Benjamin voicing Bill Skarsgård's character for him, it just did not hit for me. So, with all that being said, I'm giving this movie a 2 out of 5, just because while it looked great, I love the cast and I like some of the styles and stuff. It just it's more superficial than substance, more, and it just doesn't have enough for me. So I would if you do want a fun movie, this is probably it. Definitely watch it on like a $5 Tuesday. Otherwise, I'm fine without it, to be honest.
Yeah, style over substance is probably the best way to describe this movie. Where, yeah, you have a lot of interesting things going on screen. Really fun, colorful characters in both, their sort of their characterization and their design too. Like you mentioned, Jessica Roth's character, really cool design with her, and I thought, well acted to a certain extent. Like you mentioned, not a lot of characters have room to be anything other than sort of just like caricatures in a way. Andrew Koji, like you mentioned, I just think walk away from this, being the best. I think it's a very different role for him. Gets to show a little bit more of his comedic side. And I thought, he did a really good job of that. It's a lot of fun. He was one of my favorite parts of the movie for sure. And yeah, so the sort of the written, spoken jokes and stuff don't really work in this movie. Like you mentioned, it's a little bit of a bummer when you have someone like H. John Benjamin providing their voice, who's fantastic, and like the shows that you mentioned, and really funny there. But yeah, it wasn't really a lot of good wit or good humor in terms of the writing and the dialogue aspect of it. The physical comedy I thought was pretty fun in this movie. Andrew Koji, I think, also runs away with it on that aspect. But yeah, I really wish this movie delivered a little bit more on a lot of the other elements outside of just sort of the visuals and the action sequences. Because again, when comparing it to something like Monkey Man that just came out a few weeks ago, and again, it's hard not to, because it does feel like it's a lot of the same plot beats that we're taking from there. You got to do a little bit more than this to sort of push it past something that's like just sort of run of the mill. So that's unfortunate on that aspect. But if you're looking for something just fun and just actiony, just cool kills and stuff, you're gonna get it in this movie. But as far as everything else, almost nothing. So yeah, for me, this one is going to be a 2 out of 5 as well. A little bit disappointing on certain aspects, but again, I wasn't coming into this one expecting too much. I did get some cool action, even though I do feel the movie is a little bit long-winded in terms of that aspect too. I think there's certain scenes that go on for a little bit too long, so that kind of detracts from the fun. But if you just want to go in and turn off your brain and just see some cool killing for about like almost 2 hours, then you can't go wrong with this one, as long as you're not expecting anything more.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you put it. It's really just a movie to turn your brain off, which isn't bad, but I had a little probably higher expectations than for it. And I think if you wanted like an anime themed live action movie, Bullet Train was a lot better. So that's my take on it. Let us know what you guys thought of it in the comics, or comments. I mean, not comments, comics. But if you did hear about this movie, because again, it wasn't really very well known and it's not really marketed that well, but let us know what you thought in the comments if you checked it out. Other than that, stay bodacious and just keep on ranting for us, everyone.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.